Hi, everyone. I'm pretty excited to share my project today, but I have to apologize. My laptop is either 35 to maybe 42 feet below me right now, because when I got back to my boat, the taxi driver fumbled my handbag. Everything's at the bottom of the ocean, including my passport, my wallet, my cell phone, pretty much everything that really mattered to me. It's the only thing that fell into the ocean. Everything else made it across. So I'm kind of going to be winging it just a little bit here. So I appreciate your patience and your kind appreciation. You can only imagine the amount of stress that I've been in for the last, I don't know, 13 plus hours as I've been frantically trying to recoup some of the information that I had locally saved there. So just to reiterate, my name's Sonia. I'm currently a student at the College of San Mateo, but I'm also taking classes at the American Samoa Community College. And in 2 semesters, possibly 3, I'm transferring to UC Berkeley, where I'll be finishing my first bachelor's in the public health and data science. So I can share I'll just go ahead and share my screen just to give you a little background about, let's see, can you see my screen now?
No, we
Okay,
can't
so
see you.
start share screen, start broadcast.
Share screen.
Okay, on my side it says screen broadcast and the little red light is pulsing, but the next to the Zoom countdown, it's got just the little wheel.
Maybe flick to the screen that you want. It should continue to broadcast.
Okay.
We can see a screen now.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you
Is
see
it
my screen?
Instagram?
Okay, yes, this is where I wanted to start. So before returning to school just now, I spent the last 15 years designing electronic health record systems for dialysis clinics all throughout the US. My career focused on helping clinicians organize and then use patient information. And over the years, I was always fascinated by the role that data plays in improving healthcare, because we have a saying in healthcare that there's really 2 patients. There's the one in front of you, and there's the one that exists inside the computer. And healthcare professionals have to take care to make sure that they're not giving the one in the computer more time and attention. It's an exhausting career. So I bought a boat in the South Pacific, and you can see from my Instagram that I don't take a lot of pictures of myself. I love, love, love living in the South Pacific. It's been a privilege to spend time traveling, and it's honestly sparked a curiosity about the people in this region. And so when this project came up, I wasn't necessarily approaching the project with like a predetermined hypothesis or trying to solve a massive public health problem. I was really interested in learning if international data sets could have enough commonality between them that could help us to actually answer some real questions. And so that curiosity became the foundation of my project. I'll go ahead and switch over to show you a lot of the work that I did. So a vast amount of information is available out there online. And unfortunately, what I'm sure a lot of you found for these small Pacific islands, a lot of it is incongruent or incomplete. Some countries will have great reporting on some years, but it won't line up with some of the other countries. And so one of the biggest challenges is trying to get cohesive data and then work through and clean it in a way that it's meaningful. So when I applied to SCIPE, I honestly thought I was just signing up for an intense boot camp on Python. Honestly, I really thought that's what it was. But what this program has introduced me to is something much larger than just programming. This project forced me to learn independently end-to-end workflow. Simply began with a question, moved through the data discovery, then cleaning. And that's where I really dug deep, is learning how to cleanse the data and get everything to match up the way it needed to, going through different stages of validation, analysis. The visualizations and the deployment were the easy part for sure. So I think this program also introduced me to an incredible technical ecosystem. Much thanks to you, Kaipuni, for all those lessons and all those systems. I had no idea all those words even existed. much less all those technical things. But for my project anyway, I used a lot of Google Colab, which we talked about very early on in the program, and I kind of stuck with it. I loved all the lessons in Data Camp. Streamlit is amazing, and then of course GitHub. I built my first repository throughout this program. So what I loved about putting it all together is that these aren't just individual tools, but together they formed like a professional workflow that helped me to understand how I could take raw data and then move it through to build something that was actually useful. And I think probably the biggest gift that this program has given me was confidence. I now know that I can create an environment where I can spitball an idea, and there are so many resources out there to lean on. And I love the encouragement throughout this program to ask questions. I certainly made a lot of mistakes early on, but yeah. So when it came time to choose my project, I wanted to combine my background in healthcare and my growing interest in public health, and of course, my deep appreciation of the people in the South Pacific. And I wasn't trying to prove like a particular theory or anything. I just wanted to answer a question. I noticed in the islands that we depend nearly entirely on the cargo ships. All of our food comes from there, very little that's actually grown here, and very few people, other than the people from the cruise ships, visit our markets. So the notebooks that are here in Google Colab, and I have a bunch of them all the way from notebook number 1, which I'm showing here on the screen, where I went through and looked at information from the World Health Organization, all the way through to, let's see, I can open more notebooks. I have information from the FAO, so the Food and Agriculture group, different populations, all sorts of different things. And what I really wanted to do here also was to spend a lot of time in the documentation within the notebooks, because I believe with a good project, of course, you've got to have great code, but your documentation really helps you to understand what you're looking at when you come back to it years later. So each notebook led up to me creating an interactive Pacific Nutrition Transition Explorer. So I wasn't trying to create like a static dashboard or something like that. I was trying to create something that would allow the users to actually pinpoint their own independent curiosities and let them put data sets against each other. So just briefly here, I'll touch in, here's my GitHub. I'd never created a repository before, so I appreciated how it walks you through how to show all the different data. So all the raw files that I created, all the process data that was created, and then I also added all the notebooks up to this location. So it's something that is public, and I will continue to work on it, I think now. The biggest challenge was actually towards the finish line, trying to do all of this on an iPad. That's all that I've got left here on my boat, because that was my only laptop. But you can do it. You can do it. So here is my web app that I developed. And so going back to my background in clinical systems development, we always had this saying that a true dashboard brings to light those pearls of wisdom that you need to know about the patient without having a doctor or a nurse have to go through and open every single oyster to see which one the pearl might be hiding in. So right here on the very first page, I have the key insights. So the top current metabolic health signals are actually live fed through updated data. So we can see here that the highest obesity in not only the South Pacific, but actually the world, is where I live in American Samoa. So almost 77% there. But actually, it was interesting to learn that the Federated States of Micronesia are the leaders in diabetes. And then the highest dietary energy supply is actually Western Samoa, where it goes through and talks about how many calories they consume per day on average. Then what I built here next, I've clicked over into the overview. You can select any country from within the South Pacific. So I limited it to American Samoa, the Cooks, Micronesia, Fiji, French Polynesia, Kiribati, the Marshall Islands, Nauru, Niue, Palau, Samoa, Solomons, Tokelau, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. So it's limited just to the South Pacific. And as you click through, you can find the most recent information, which you'll notice right away is disparate across the different years. So latest information is not necessarily all in the same year because a lot of times these aren't reported in the same way. So this is an overview. So what I'm looking at here is just how the trend for obesity, diabetes, and hypertension happened for each of these different countries. And then when you get into the food systems, this is where we're looking at population level information on the dietary energy versus fat, protein, and then the reliance on the food imports. And you're going to see, I was shocked that food imports exceeds 100%. A lot of these countries that's there. So then this part of the web app goes through and lets you take any food system indicator. So if you're curious about dietary energy, your calories consumed per day on average per capita, or if you're curious about the fat, the protein, or the percentage of import, which would be your dependence on the exports, or I'm sorry, the imports. And you can compare that to the health outcome. So for example, you can check your fat supply, which is a key indicator of diabetes, and compare that to obesity to see how that lines out. You can take it and compare it to diabetes or hypertension, which is high blood pressure. So this is all very meaningful information for caregivers, for sure. And then just for curiosity's sake, I tossed in a page here that goes through and lists the rankings, just in case you want to know where your island stands. My island, American Samoa, leads the pack for obesity. But you can see as you click through all these different comorbid conditions, it's a wide range of outcomes. And not every country has great reported data either. So I think this is just the beginning of what this type of dashboard can provide. There's also, you can get in and look at the actual raw data. One of the biggest challenges was learning if I was interpreting like the variables correctly and knowing that I was getting actually meaningful information and if another researcher would even trust the analysis. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't trying to mislead anyone that was looking at the data. So everything is cross-referenced, and I tried to create some of the cleanest visualizations. I expected that the food import dependence would explain a lot more of the variation that I observed, but instead it was really the calories. So dietary energy availability had the strongest relationships. So I should probably wrap this up. Let's see. I just want to say, as I continue looking towards Berkeley, I want to build on everything that I learned this summer by combining public health, data science, and my background in healthcare tech to develop more sophisticated tools that help transform the complex data sets into information that actually supports real decisions for real people. And I also hope to continue expanding on this observatory by incorporating additional jurisdictions, maybe some other socioeconomic indicators, maybe even look at some climate variables, and of course, get into more advanced analytical methods. I'm calling this version 1.0, and I'd like to sincerely thank everyone who made this experience possible. Dr. Stokes, thank you for creating a program that challenged us both intellectually and also encouraging us every day to think bigger about what we were capable of accomplishing. I'm blown away by the amount of resources that were given to this program. To my mentors, I want to thank you for your willingness to share your knowledge. I do appreciate all the time that you shared with us. And then I think one of the greatest strengths of the program was learning alongside such a diverse group of people. So I also, of course, want to thank the University of Hawaii and everyone that made this possible. I came into this program just hoping to learn Python, but I think I'm leaving with something a lot more valuable. Thank you.
I think you're leaving this program with one less laptop by the sound of it.
Oh, but I'm more worried about the passport. I'm in a foreign country now with no passport. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mess. Yeah.